respecting the values of the liberation struggle, all those duties that we cited under Section 9, the Constitutional Court says they are not specific enough for them to exercise the jurisdiction they have under Section 167, because we came direct to the Constitutional Court alleging that this was the kind of case which must be dealt with by the Constitutional Court directly. That was the argument. And they are saying those duties are not specific enough for them to exercise jurisdiction directly. So they declined to exercise their jurisdiction there. The application would not succeed on that basis. They said the application would not succeed on that basis. What this means is that the application ought to have been brought to a lower court, which is like the High Court. The High Court can determine those. And then it goes up to the Constitutional Court through the normal processes of appeals and so forth. That is in meaning. They have said under 167, subsection 2D, those obligations will not be triggered. So that application has failed in respect of the president here. Yeah. And as we are seeing, we're getting instructions from our clients, the ones I read, the war veterans. They have said they will immediately file the same application in the High Court, which can then determine those broad-based duties, because they're not clear, so they have to be ventilated. So the application will be filed in the High Court on the same allegations, same issues, which can be determined by the High Court and then going up.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maponga J, right here in Zimbabwe. I come tonight to clarify the stories that have been making rounds on the social media space. Hopewell Chingono, Benson Matinyarare, Hulu Bila, and Rudo Zoko. Come close. Let's clear this thing once and for all. I had a phone call with Benson and Hopewell after our squabble and the misdirected, misinformative videos that Rutendo had sent on the social media space. And I needed to clarify. And when Hopewell saw our battle, we had a conference call together to clarify those issues. Hopewell Chimono advised me that we needed to bury our hatchets so that we can be able to develop the Zimbabwe story in a more positive light. It was a three-way call between myself, Hopewell, and Benson. It was out of that phone call that I later on made a follow-up call to Rutendo to advise him the way I thought best he would be able to handle himself and go forward. That is the video that went out on the social media space. But very critical information was missing on that video, which I thought maybe let me keep quiet. The young man is the reason why he's becoming selective. It is not true that Benson was not paid for the services that he had claimed to give to the country. He was paid 14.2 million and he did not pay the lawyers. The lawyers had to come for another invoice altogether. It is not true that Benson was introduced to Kudakwasha Tagure through ED Jr. That's not true. I took him to meet up with Kudakwasha Tagure. It is not true that Benson removed sanctions. No. The nation of Zimbabwe, embassies, public sector, and international relations offices, including civilians who have been sleeping at the US Embassy for months. When Tungwarara comes up to pay for Benson, it's blackmail. Unfortunately, it was not an intelligent and well-informed decision that you can pay the very man who was destroying the party and you reward him with blackmail. Unfortunately, that's how Benson works. He records everything that you speak He records everything that you say, and he selects what he wants to publish and what he does not want to publish. Other information I'll be able to release a bit later on about his misunderstandings and some of the misgivings that we had and we have had along the short space of time that I've come to know him, including our presidential encounter, including the hotel and other events that have enshrouded this conversation. But I can state it on record. Benson is a psychiatric patient, is a liar, is a criminal, and is a conman. There's no way you can be paid that kind of money, 14.2 million, and you go on to lambast and lie about the men that even knew that you were lying when you were asking for that money. And he even told me personally that we could give him 500,000 to pay for some of his debts so that he can focus on this issue. You forget some of those stories. Selective amnesia. And you want to run a political campaign on likes on Facebook. Shame on you, Benson. I'm ashamed. I'm actually feeling bad that I never saw that part of you. And I've come to embarrass people that trusted me with your name. Go your way. Do what you must do. But don't lie to the country. You never removed sanctions. You've never been patriotic about the country. Our coming to Zimbabwe, me and you, was to make Zimbabwe great again, rebuild the brand, and assist on the conversation around sanctions. With a business plan and a strategy on how to do that. You picked the bag of money and you ran away through the door. And you come back after you squander that money. I don't know how you've spent it. And you want to claim that you're a victim. No, Benson. Just have a conscience. You're too smart for yourself. And you're going to wallow in your own vomits.
You know, it really hurts me to wake up in the morning like this to make a video to rebut my once good friend and elder brother Joshua Maponga. And all this is happening because we met a billionaire who said, I love your guys' talent. Come and work with my organization and you'll be millionaires within a year. Didn't happen. We're actually sitting here rebutting each other and fighting each other because the billionaire will not pay a simple invoice because my organization removed sanctions on Zimbabwe after he commissioned us to do it. And many people have asked me, why do you record conversations with people? Why do you record phone calls? It's because people are dishonest, especially people in Zimbabwe. Listen to this.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maponga J, right here in Zimbabwe. I come tonight to clarify the stories that have been making rounds on the social media space. I had a phone call with Benson and Hopewell after our squabble and the misdirected, misinformative videos that Rotunda had sent on the social media space. And I needed to clarify. And when Hopewell saw our battle, we had a conference call together to clarify those issues. Hopewell Shimon advised me that we needed to bury our hatchets so that we can be able to develop the Zimbabwe story in a more positive light. It was a three-way call between myself, Hopewell, and Benson. It was out of that phone call that I later on made a follow-up call to Rotendo to advise him the way I thought best he would be able to handle himself and go forward. That is the video that went out on the social media space. But very critical information was missing on that video, which I thought maybe let me keep quiet. The young man is the reason why he's becoming selective. It is not true that Benson was not paid for the services that he had claimed to give to the country. He was paid 14.2 million and he did not pay the lawyers. The lawyers had to come for another invoice altogether.
So, you've heard that figure that Joshua Maponga is giving you, 14 million rand. I don't know if he forgot that he had actually spoken about the very same figure just 2 months ago. And this is the figure that he gave then. Listen to this.
And Rutendo has posted, that invoice of a deposit, which is written the farmers of thought onto the FNB. And people are asking us to engage you on that. Please go ahead.
Rutendo is being very notorious, and I know why he's doing that. When we called him when we facilitated, now we can share some notes. When we facilitated his coming here, which he knows very well, the payments delayed. I used some of my own cash for his upkeep and keeping him here, because I had not submitted an invoice for the entire work that we're going to be doing, only to be repaid when the invoice had come through, because it was all inclusive. So if you want to throw the invoice, that's incorrect, Rutendo. Can you bring the entire invoice and people can know, so that you don't only blackmail me? Show us the deposit slip from the principal, and then show that, and I can justify your hotels at Miko's Hotel, 5-star, a rented car, fully with a sunroof, a house in Borodale, and the list can go on to justify that invoice. Because I had not billed directly. The bill was inclusive to what we're going to be doing together. So if you want to throw the curtains and the napkins out, I'm all out. Can we have the next invoice, please, of how much was paid? And make them two, please. The initial payment, which was 7.5, and the next payment, which was 1.3 or 1.4 million. Then put the two together, and then let's have a nice conversation.
You hear that in Joshua Maponga's own words. He's saying that we were paid 7.5 million rand plus 1.3 million rand. That's 8.8 million rand altogether. Money given to my organization, Zimbabwe Anti-Sanctions Movement, in order to go to court against Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, and the banks of America, United Kingdom, Europe, and South Africa that were implementing illegal sanctions that had been called illegal by the United Nations Human Rights Council, that my organization also got into Zimbabwe. So why has the number changed all of a sudden, just from 2 months ago when he said to 8.8 million to now 14 million? It's for the same reason why he was on these spaces explaining himself. Joshua Maponga had gone onto the internet and said that I was lying, that I had done work with his boss, the billionaire Kuda Tagwire, and I had been fighting sanctions with Kuda Tagwire. He said that I had no proof of deposits, I had no proof of invoices, I had no proof of a contract, so I was lying. I then said, but Joshua, we gave you 100,000 rand as a commission for our first payment that was supposed to go to the lawyers that already started the work. He said I was lying, so I produced a POP on these spaces. That's what he's calling an invoice, and he was shocked. Then he started lying that no, I was paying for your accommodation. His boss paid for everything. Joshua didn't have to pay for anything. So Joshua has been lying, and he's lying again now. But besides speaking to Joshua, I also spoke to his boss about the very same numbers when he needed to make a payment 2 years later of not making any payments with our lawyers working for nothing. Listen to this.
I didn't mama just one wiki yekutanga then just complete imwe yacho bvapera before the end of the year. So those wakabatirira wakoma now.
So if I do 1 million this week, it won't cause problems, or it will cause you problems?
And this way because you
holiday, and you know in system don't
it's not switch off because them accounted.
I make arrangements, so I think I can do another maybe 1 million or 1.8 million today or tomorrow.
Okay, can I consider that true comment to now?
Tomorrow morning, by tomorrow afternoon, you'll have 1.8 million. Then I'll see what I'll do after that.
Okay,
but I definitely by mid-January to end of January, and then I pay just 7. What's the amount? 7 million.
7 million.
8 million.
yanga 8 million. Problem ari kuti hanzi iwewe hanzi inini ndakavapromisa zvandokutaura. Saka why is it hauchaita zvawakapromisa? Ndikati iwe guys, munhu wangu andikudhila naye ane ma-challenges ekufambisa mari. Saka anonzwisisa muridzi wecompany. Problem yakuitika is the lawyers vasina kupa manhingirikeni mabonuses after they did the work.
Okay, let me see what I can do. But I definitely will do 100,000 equivalent tomorrow. Let's see what I can do.
For context, how I met the billionaire Kudata Gure was that Junior Mnangagwa had seen how we had brought the UN Human Rights Council into Zimbabwe to determine if there were sanctions, because many people didn't believe there were sanctions in Zimbabwe. The UN Human Rights Council came, determined that there were sanctions in Zimbabwe, declared them illegal, and also said that they were violating human rights. And as such, with that report, Junior Mnangagwa said, congratulations for the good work. What do we do next? And I said, we would need to go to court. And he said, yes, absolutely, that's a good idea. Why don't we go to the International Criminal Court? And I told him we were not signatories, but we could look at the International Court of Justice and we could also look at local courts. He said, go to court, we'll find you the money. That's how he introduced me to Kudata Gure, or at least Kudata Gure then got in touch with me through Joshua Maponga, and Kudata Gure works with the president's son. From there, we went to see the president, and then we're given a green light to start our legal case in South Africa. When we met Kudata Gure, he asked us how much was this case, and we said about $6 million US. So he said, I will give you money to pay you for the work that you've done now, and then I'll give you the remainder in future. So he gave us 1.5 million rand. The lawyer Simba Chitando took that money, and then the rest was given to Joshua Maponga. Once that was done, the lawyers never got another payment for 2 years. That conversation I was having with him was from 2 years ago. I'm not going to go into too much detail about everything else, because when we look at the fight against sanctions, I began a campaign against sanctions. People started marching against sanctions. The United Nations came to Zimbabwe, and the US Congress came to Zimbabwe after speaking to me. Sanctions were removed. You can make up your mind as to whether that was me who did that, but work was done. And I just wanted to prove that Joshua Maponga is lying. I'm not going to go into all the other allegations that he made. I will let you, as the people of Zimbabwe, make up your mind. He also threatened my family for me not supporting the Constitutional Amendment Bill.
The first thing that I want to warn you today is that the grand strategy of the enemies of our people is to keep us diverted from the real issue, which is confronting us today. The major issue which is confronting each and every child of Zimbabwe, whether in sleep or in walk or wherever we are, is the issue of the attempt by the greedy persons to capture our state. Constitution Amendment Bill number 3 is the greatest enemy of the moment. There is no any other conversation or debate which must divert us from this grand attempt to usurp our state. So, beloved Zimbabweans, recently one of the Chiganandas tried to divert our attention. Icho chinonzi tungwarara icho. Anotomoka chaiso, thinking that he is a political grandmaster. Akati iye akubhadhara vamwe vake vana Benson Rutendo Matinyarare $200,000 ne Land Cruiser 300 series. And all of a sudden, all of us, we are now being diverted our attention from debating the real issue at hand in Nova Cape 3. We are now busy debating kuti vatengana vapanana mari vadini. All those things are strategies and tactics being employed by the enemies of our people to divert our attention. I warn you, stop playing into the hands of the enemies of our people. They were so afraid with the momentum that was built last week through the national discourse and also the debates held in parliament by progressive members of parliament. Vakananika chinhu chinonzi KB3 chikuti chinhu chamatoto. Vaona kuti zvadaro, they had to find something to occupy our minds and not digress the real fundamentals of the moment. Nokukanda zvinyaya zvisina nebasa zvemari. We all know kuti all those people whom you hear and see masquerading and pretending kuva varakashi, who are trying to show some signs of kuti tisi tinodefenda Mnangagwa nechibakira. All those people are mercenaries. They are not doing that through conviction, but they are singing for their supper. Where have you ever seen people working and saying that we are convinced for us that ZANU-PF is the future, when they are demanding payment, when they are given money for them to sing what they don't believe and are not convicted that this is the right thing and the right road for our nation to take? So vese vava munoona vaya vachizama kutaura nyaya dzokuti tiri kusapota KB3, they are mercenaries vari kuita sing for their supper. So we must not dance to their tune. It was nobody kurwadziwa kunza Matinyarare yakapiwa 200,000 nekera, isisu dance ngatipiwe ima 10,000. It shows your value that you are as useless as 10,000 for you to be used to sing something that you don't believe in. It shows you have lost your brains. It shows you have lost your soul. It shows that you have lost your conscience. It shows that you have lost your humanity for you to be used like something that is absolutely useless. This is the thing that all the masses of our people must be aware of. Let us not be diverted. Let's be focused, because this week they want to go and fast track and pass the bill in parliament. Izvozvi muri busy kutaura nyaya idzodzo. Machavangu MP amanya kunoita caucus nhasi makuseni kunoronga nokurangana kuti tonotengese vana veZimbabwe sei, toita vana Judas Iscariot sei. Vazhinji vavo vari kupenga nokupopota kuti zvima 10,000 zvakanga zvabva zvakatengwa nezvigananda hazvina kusvika zvakakwana. Sevati omunye wavo uchonchile imali yavo. Kwai takabirwa mari yedu. Kwai yakasvika vamwe vakapiwa 8,000 asi vandokolekta mari yanga yachinzi ndamunopa ma-MP vatengesi ma-10,000. Saka kwai kune burutsi nhasi, saka vatoita chikokasi makungwanani-ngwananana chokunoti vanodhibeta kuti ko mari yedu yakanga ichinzi 10 nemhaka yazoya iri ma-8, kwai vashoma vakafanana ma-MP okunana Gweruko ebheni vanonzi ndo vakazowana ma-10,000, vamwe vese vanonzi vakapiwa ma-8,000, vazomorerwa 2,000 kubva pamari yavakanga vapiwa nechibhakira. Vamwe vari kuti saka isitisi wokusevenzeswa kuti ungonovhota chete, asi onai vamwe vakafanana nouyu mutengesi kwaMutare apiwa GD6 ne50,000 nechigananza chinonzi Chivhayo. Saka institution wokungonovhota chete tichipiwa zvima 8,000 matizomorere zvimari zvedu, saka hatichadi. Saka kwai kune burumutsi kumachavangu. vakagara dare nhasi mangwanani rokuti vondotengesa senyika asi kwai mukokasi momo manga mune burubutsi rokuti ko mari yedu nemhaka yakazvomorwa imwe plus iyo kuya yeincrease yakutanga takamiriya demand waona mamp ezanupf kutoda dzimotikari nama50,000 iri kupi. So zvinokutaridzai kuti zvese zviri kuitwa izvi, everything that is currently happening in our country has absolutely nothing to do with advancing the aspirations and the wishes of the masses of our people. It is all about eating. It's now the eating moment of these people. While they are doing this, those who have been advancing the CAP 3 agenda are currently toasting with an agenda. Yokuti, toenda here referendum so as to silence these people. Will we defeat them? Mukazwa kutaura kwanga kuchita Matuke pa weekend yapfuura yachitsinyira vanhu vakaenda kuhondo zvichinza munotitaurira zvehondo nhasi mimi munonga tine basa renazvo nokuti akanga ari mudzakutsaku nomusikuzapu wamuzoriwa ava kuchinyira vakaenda kuhondo Matuke achivati imimi munotudza zvehondo nhasi muri vanani imi munofunga kuti mungati ataka isi takapeta maoko edu manje iwe ndo unogona kutirongera isu hatigoni kuzvidze gamba damanga muri gamba kanhai vaMatuke makaenda kuhondo kwakaenda vamwe ingave zero renyu vazhinji mavo veterans 1 munofunga kuti isi dai tanga tiri mazero enyu aya kunyange tanga tiri zvipwere tanga tichimanya mupungu emomo tinana comrade Musa nana comrade Kaskai tichisongana navo tichiona kuti nyika yetu yesunungura sei at our young age of 6-7 years. When yourself was an adult person, you cannot undermine those people who have sacrificed their lives to liberate our country from the minority regime of Ian Douglas Smith. That is unacceptable. You think you're victored, but that's not the truth. The truth is that the people of our nation shall determine the future of their country. Zvamaita nana chadzamira pa weekend ichi muchituka vanhu nokuvahlikidzira kuti hai muchaona moto. Ndakazva chadzamira achitaura achiti kuchaita kugenda kwemeno. Chiwa munyika yechizvarwa mopromesa vanhu kuvagendegesa meno nokuti mapasa achikebi 3. That intensifies our determination to stop it. You cannot pass the law where you promise people terror and unhappiness in their living. How would you stand up and say kuchata kugenda kupi? Why to give our people torrent times because of their beliefs? And you expect all of us to say, "Hi, chinhu ngachisapote muchipromesa vanhu kugenda kwemeno." Hakuna nyaya yoyo. We shall continue making sure that this thing will never pass. So all your shenanigans that you have done, we know them. We know them. Yes, no, you are trusting nyaya kuti ngatinde kureferendum asitambochita avo vari opposed to this CAP 3 kuti haiwawo regerai ipase muparliament yapasa muparliament yozonosiyana napresident tozoti court ipai judgment yokuti nyaya iyi ngainde kureferendum toita referendum naJuly. Isi tinyatsokuziva kuti moda kutinyangira kuti the moment when it is being signed and ascended to as the law na Mnangagwa, anybody who has gone to paralegal training who are not lawyers would know that the moment when a bill is ascended into is now law. It's irreversible. So when it already becomes law after the ascension of the signature of a purported president, maakuti yozonzi ande naye ku referendum atina kupusa. That is a lie. You are lying and trying to cheat our people, and our people shall resist this. So today we are going to monitor all the events that are going to happen in Parliament toasting that they might be voting today for the passage of this bill, but I don't see it succeeding. Yes, no mapurisa azara pese panenge pachirara ma MP kwanzi tauya pano kuzogada security yokuti ma MP ave safe.